So, welcome to episode 10 of Railcar Restorers on the road. We are still in front of a very nice looking 105 that you will see later on.
Yep, so this East Lancs gala is a big one in the calendar for us. There's a couple less units in service this year. That's been supplemented by short hauled sets with diesel locos, so a nice little change up for things, and yeah, lovely event as always.
Yeah, usual behind the scenes looks at the DMUs and some nice loco hauled no heat replacements, just like it used to be in the days of BR.
So, let's get on with it. Let's get into hopefully another very exciting video.
Right guys, so now we are in Barron Street Shed. We are looking at one of the two surviving rare White Class 121 DTCL trailers. This one is 56289, the other one being 56287, owned by our friends at Press Steel. But in this one, it's had an extensive rebuild. It was only stopped, believe it or not, for lino and upholstery, but since discovering a few other nasties, like a lot of DMUs are hiding, they've decided to go the whole hog with this, and it's a similar job to what we've done, but they are further along in their journey. So as you'll see behind me, they've got the panelling refitted, which is the same. Well, they've chosen this panelling, and we want to replicate the same thing in ours because it's a very close match, and it is excellent stuff. It just looks amazing. Wooden window frames, which we have had some new made of. It nicely fitted it. There's no gaps. They've really gone to town with it. The aluminium stripping that's covering, well, they're all designed to cover the gaps basically for panel joins and things. Just neatens it up, but it's really come out lovely. And they got the original sort of tungsten lighting. So being in this vehicle will put into perspective what we are aiming for very similarly for our vehicles. The original tungsten style lights along the middle of the vehicle with this same panelling, same wood. The doors are slightly different because we have wholly aluminium sort of cast doors. Bubble cars had wooden surrounds and things which were varnished. They look quite nice, but they're obviously not as resilient as aluminium ones. But this is what we're looking to replicate. Obviously this one has been backdated because it hasn't got the corridor connection. That's been removed, and a big bench seat will be going in there. But yeah, this looks amazing. All of this Formica, and it's more resilient. It's a thick sort of plastic rather than having wood backing, so even if the water did get in, it's not going to get ruined. You could carefully remove it and repair the area you're after. So moving back through the vehicle, you'll sort of see it from a nearly complete stage to a gradually getting complete to a similar stage where we're at with ours. It's sort of going through the motions. So it's had new flooring, insulation put in, the panelling. As you can see in this one, it's missing a lot of the aluminium trim, some of the wood that's being hidden that isn't in there yet. A lot of it is getting there in this saloon, whereas the other saloon is nearly complete. Moving into this one, again, it's very much getting there, but as we move further towards the cab, it is still very much a work in progress, but is getting somewhere very fast. Although it hasn't been touched for a while due to the group's other commitments with running the Class 105, the Class 104, the Pacer, and keeping them going is a whole other task in its own. So they're doing extremely well for what they have, resources, etc. Moving along, we won't go too further up here, but similar sort of cab rebuild has taken place. The dome's been taken off, reworked, etc. New metal around the top. It's had the whole hog, and basically they're just a more advanced state where wood's in, backs of panels are painted, all the glass is in, sort of where we're aiming to be very soon, but not quite there yet, just because these things take time, obviously. So that's the inside of W56289. On to the outside. Right guys, so now we're at the outside of 56289. As you'll see, no holes, rust or any nasties in the bodywork. It's all been done, it's just awaiting a coat of paint, some filler and prep, etc. The gutters are back on. We've taken a lot of hints and advice off of this group for things like the gutter bolts. They're just, if they're more advanced, we might as well pick their brains in what to do in advice for our own unit, just because why reinvent the wheel if you don't have to? So the windscreens are back in, the head code box is in, with the numbers in, which is the only thing we haven't put back in ours yet. Moving backwards, one difference you will see on this, which is also different to Bubble, because Bubble was built by Gloucester, the same as 55009. This is also built by Press Steel, the same as our 117, but has these aluminium window frames which are pop riveted in and have a larger style rubber, which I think is a good thing, but also a pain in the backside because the rubber seems to be a bit of a pain. But aluminium frames you can't really go wrong with because you can seal them up nicely. Moving back, much more of the same. It's not as bad as 51412 bodywork wise. She was quite a wreck in places. But yeah, it did need the work. It did have the suburban problem that most suburban DMUs will have or will incur if left untreated. So all in all, not a bad vehicle. They've taken the bump stops off here, so as you'll see this is nice and solid, nice new rubber. It's just going to work lovely. Something else we need to do to our unit just to finish off that nice crisp final look. Moving back, it's much more of the same. The gutter has been completely taken off and resealed to stop any water ingress, which is a big problem for these. As soon as that water gets in, you'll see all the panel replacements that need to be done on our channel. Moving back, it's just had sort of arresting work, flaky paint tending to where needed, but there's nothing actually really wrong with it. It's all in good shape, all the doors work, which is a big issue for these units. Then moving on to the magic at the back, you will see just around the corner, the corridor has been removed and plated over like it originally was. So when these units were first built, they didn't have corridor connections. Even our 3 car wouldn't have. The only reason we're keeping it is because we still need it to get through all of our vehicles. It makes much more sense to do it. So with this vehicle here, because it's going to be paired with a bubble car predominantly of the time, you can't walk through both of them, so it makes sense just to remove it and keep it original. And it's just one less thing to have to maintain and deal with. Right guys, so behind me is 55001, which is built the same, exactly the same as 55009, which we saw at the Great Central. Just this one is a runner that's in for a repaint. It's from remedial work to stop any water leaks. So as you'll see, it's had a repaint recently and it's looking fantastic. It's still mid repaint, so it's not the final finish. I know some people like to critique out there, but there's a lot of work that goes into these things. So moving back, you'll see it's had a very hardy roof paint put on it, similar sort of our oil rig paint, but something that they use up here at the East Lancs. Moving back, see a nice coat of gloss blue. The interior is all complete. It just needed some TLC really. It was starting to look quite tired at its age. It had a repaint well over 10 years ago, so it was just very much needed. So just remedial work to get it back to how it should be, and then Squeak will follow obviously once it's had its major rebuild. So moving along this side, a lot of the work that has been carried out you might not be able to see bar the repaint. It's had the gutters resealed in places where needed, which was very much needed just to stop those leaks. Obviously it's having a repaint. Everything else like window rubbers is okay, so that can stay as is for now. Moving back, you'll see a bit more of a complete unit compared to 55009 at the minute. This is what a bubble car should look like when it is complete and back together. And then going back towards the guards van, you'll see it's having a rub down, ready for probably a final coat of paint or maybe even a varnish. And then here is the guards van, where a lot of the problems tend to occur, but this one's in nice shape because it's looked after. This is a brilliant vehicle and well used at this railway. You'll often see it paired with the Class 104 and paired with Squeak eventually when it's out. It is a very versatile vehicle, having a cab at both ends. It's a great extra power car and a great people mover with all the doors. So past the guards van, we get round to the back cab now. As you'll see, also having a repaint, and doesn't it just look great? It's getting there, and you'll be able to travel in this very soon again once it's out shopped and any little niggly problems are fixed with it. So this is 55001. And now on to the interior of 55001. Right guys, so now we're in the interior, starting on the guards van. Sorry for the lack of light, but obviously we are in a shed, so it's not always light in all these places. You do need a lot of lighting systems, which just aren't needed at this minute because we're doing a quick walk around of this unit. So in here, as you'll see behind me, it has part of the partition wall cutaway, which is probably part of its departmental days when it was TDB 975023, TDB 975023 was its number back then, when it was a departmental unit. Would have been used for route learning predominantly. That's what a lot of these single carriage units used to be used for, or converted into sandite units, etc. So yeah, it's an alternate use for it. It's strange to see it like this, but it's authenticity. It's keeping it how it was made back in the day by BR for certain uses. So the guards van, apart from that, very similar to our 117 and very similar to 55009. Moving through here, we've got the seating area. Again, very similar to a lot of suburban units. This one, albeit different because the Formica and everything is slightly different in Gloucester's than it is in pressed steel units. So this has the same window rubber as our 117, although being built by Gloucester. This is just some of the little different design flaws and techniques in these units. So it's quite a nice unit. Everything is in here, like the lino, the panelling, everything is in very good shape. The seating is in nice shape. It's got these partition doors as well, which is something quite rare and also quite nice. Luggage racks are very similar, and it also has these tungsten bulbs in the top with the nice light surrounds, and also the small vents like we've pointed out earlier. So in here it also has the wooden window surrounds, but also has wooden strips instead of aluminium ones in places. So there's lots of subtle differences in these units which don't always get noted unless you're really looking at it with a fine tooth comb. Sometimes they all have their subtle differences. So moving back, we've got the rest of the passenger saloon. This is very similar to 51412 and 51370. Then just turning around, we've got the cab, which is again very standard Derby cab. All the gauges are in front of you. This is also having some fault finding work with certain things. There's not a lot wrong with it, but it's just, you know, these units are 60 plus years old. They don't always work like a brand new car would. So yeah, this is 55001's interior.
So now what you're going to see after the lovely restoration that we've seen, just a bit of clarification, the bubble has only come in recently, about the last 6 months from the day of filming, and the squeak, the trailer car, has actually been in there since 2015, so that will be it'll be quite a big launch when that goes, because that's had a lot of work, and like we said, it started off with just, you know, replacing the lino, and look at where it is now, so that's really good. Now what you're going to see is the 105s being prepped in the morning and basically taking you around a working 105. We saw a one under restoration at Llangollen, but this is one that is working, and there's only 3 cars left, so thought we might as well give you the tour, especially over a power car.
Right guys, here we are stood in front of the very rare Class 105 2-car set, the only 2-car set left in existence with a very rare power car. We're going to be doing a quick walk around of it just while they prep the unit. We'll be fitting in around them. It's going to be something similar to what we did at Llangollen.
So yeah, obviously this isn't under restoration, but it's a very rare unit, so while we're here we'd like to cover it. Big thanks to the DMU group here at East Lancashire that are letting us do this. Obviously we're working around them, so let's get on with going through the underneath, how it works, how it's different, if it is different, and the interior. So let's get on with it.
Right guys, so now we're going to walk around the underside of the 105. As we've been told, they are very similar to other DMUs, apart from their AEC engines, but we'll slowly walk around that. So on the front, 2-character route indicator, nice little thing with drainage on top as well, quite snazzy. You see the 2 big windows, which are great for viewing. Moving around, lovely paint job that's been done recently. She looks ace as always, as such a rare unit should. Bogies are fairly standardish sort of looking DMU bogie, especially compared to the 120 we've done recently. Getting further around here, we've got the AEC engines. These are 150 horsepower, just like the Leyland engines, but I've been told sound so much better. This has also been set up for Leylands back in the day, hence the throttle pull cord here instead of here. But everything is exactly the same, final drives, gearboxes, it's just sort of an earlier engine fitted to it, and they do sound nice. It's got all the other standard DMU stuff, radiators, battery switch, heaters, battery boxes. Fuel oil goes in here, which is a strange one. It's normally just a coolant cap on the side on ours. Then you got your lifting jack points, the guards van, all very nicely restored. The corridors, which look immaculate as well. These are the scissor type corridors, which we don't have. We have the suspension type, which is a Western region thing. Then moving on to the trailer car. Things are a lot quieter back here. Again, you've got your fuel oil for the heaters. It's the only thing that has the fuel oil on these. Very standard sort of trailer car, not too much underneath, apart from your vacuum gear, batteries, heaters, etc. A few other little components. Again, nicely restored and painted. Bogies have been overhauled with new bushes and pins, etc. So she does run sweet. Got the original work shed plate as well. Not the original, maybe a recast, but that's where it would have been originally. The buzzer you can hear going off in the cab, that's just to indicate that the handbrake is on. And then moving around to this end, not got a 2-character route indicator, but we do have several marker lights, so it's just differentiating the different ends that these units used to have. Now we're going to go through a little bit of the prep with Paul, who's driving this unit today. He's going to be showing us how to work the final drives after you've started the engines and let the air pressure gain.
Hello everybody, my name's Paul Bonello, part of the Berry DMU group. I'm just going to run you through now part of the driver's prep before we start services at the beginning of the day. Sorry about the buzzer in the background, that's to warn us that the handbrakes are on, which is vital because at the moment the unit's not safe to move. What I'm going to describe now is a vital check that we do first thing in the morning. So you'll go around, do all the prep outside, make sure everything's okay, check all the oil levels, We've already started the engines, and what we now have to do is build up air pressure. So at the moment we've got about 85 psi. That's fine. Anything below about 75 you have to wait for the air to build up. So we're all right, we've got plenty of air. So the next thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to shut the engines down. Okay, so both engines are stopped. Now the reason I've done that is we now need to test the integrity of the final drive reversing dogs. And what they are is electromechanical, and it allows the vehicle to change direction. What they are essentially is a dog tooth. And the problem is, if you don't test the integrity first thing in the morning, they can go what's called tooth on tooth and destroy themselves. So we don't have any engines, we've got nothing whizzing around. So now what we have is the brass key there. And I'm going to put that in there, okay? I'm going to put it into forwards. So that light tells me there, that blue light, tells me that it's engaged in the forwards direction. So now I'm going to put it into reverse. Now that probably isn't going to light up. That doesn't necessarily indicate a fault, but that indicates that if the engines were running, we would have done damage. So go back to forwards again, okay, and that will light up. Go back to there, okay. That hasn't lit up. Now I'm okay with that. Now what I would sometimes do is go and restart the engines locally, but I'm happy to restart them from here. And when I do that, you might hear a clink as the gear goes in. So we'll start the left hand side. There you go. Now you may have heard that click. That's the drive going in. You won't get your second light up until you started that engine. Right, okay, so we've got two engines. You have to have both engines running to get that integrity light. That proves everything's working. So right, we're working in reverse. Go to forward, out they go. So it's like you count them all out, then you count them all back. Because sometimes you might have 3 sets of lights. If we're working with that one, you'd have all 3 sets of lights working. So basically what that means is change direction, disengage, re-engage, and it's engaged properly. So that tells me as a driver, I've got integrity now of the transmission, and I know it will safely go forward and reverse. So the next thing I'm going to do now, okay, we've got the handbrakes on, okay, engage the DSD. If you look there, I'm now going to create a brake. And this is the bit where you have to be a bit patient. So this is the time when normally we will speed the engines up, just to bring a little bit more high side. So what we're looking now to do is to charge the brake cylinders. Because just because you've got a reading there doesn't necessarily mean that you've got a brake. You've got to have vacuum on both sides of the cylinders. So this process now is giving it time to charge both sides of the cylinders. So I'll be a bit patient now and wait for that to settle. You can hear this one's the only one with virtually no silencers on. We've put it back to original so the exhausts go through the brake van. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to do a DSD test. Now I'm looking for that gauge there to drop to tell me that the driver safety device is operative. Okay, so that's dropping there. I'm happy with that. You can hear the whistle of the DSD operating. So I'm going to make a brake application. So what I'm looking for now, that's in the lap position, so whatever application I make, that should hold it on the gauge, and that's holding it, so that means the lap position is good. You wouldn't normally brake as hard as this in service. So I'm going to go back to running again. So that gauge there is what we call the release pipe. So that's the reserve of vacuum to get these off. It's unique to DMUs. And that normally lives 25 or higher. So at the moment, because it's cold, it just takes a bit longer. Right, so happy with that. Test the horn. Just testing the horn. I've already tested the lights, so I know they work. Happy with those. Handbrake stays on at the moment because I've got to go down the other end and repeat my checks. Pretty much that's duties in the desk complete for this end.
So as you will have just seen, Paul ever so kindly just took us through a quick bit of the part of the startup procedure and prep for this DMU. As for controls, we saw the 105 in Llangollen recently. It has the nice slanted desk and a very strange but funky layout. It's got the same DMU controls, gauges, etc. All the sort of standard DMU things that you'll see on a blue square unit, but just a nice unique layout on this unique vehicle. This one is obviously in traffic at the minute. There's another buzzer for a handbrake. Moving on to the interior, we have this similar sort of moquette that's on the 109, sort of a mushroom shell I think it's called, green with the leather strips. It's really lovely, and it is just a time warp, it's original. And then moving into the next saloon, we just need to grab the door for. There we are. It's a sprung loaded door, so it's a bit of a challenge at times. Moving on, nice green lino. Everything is, they've really gone to town on this. It took 25 years to restore it, so it had a long time out of traffic, having overhauls, having the work it needed to be done, and doesn't it just look a treat? Everything is very nicely restored, and it's a credit to its owners, the Berry unit team. They do a fantastic job here at East Lancs. Moving back, got more of the same. And then we have the guards van behind Johnny, which we'll take a look in now. So now we're in the guards van of this unit. As you can see, it has the cage, which would have housed luggage and precious things back in the day. Also have other things in the DMU guards van, which are very standard across DMUs. So the emergency brake valve, the brake valve for the train pipe, and then the guard's chair. Obviously, the guard has to be nice and comfortable on the ride as well. And then just storage cupboards, emergency cupboards, things like that, and obviously the buzzers. Now we're in the trailer car, so it's not so vibratey and noisy. This is a DTCL, so a driving trailer composite lavatory. As you'll see, a nice yellow toilet. I believe it's a similar formica to what is in Chris's DMU Class 104. So it looks very nice, quite snazzy for the era it was. And then moving back, much more of the same as in the power car. This nice moquette, the nice well restored lino. These nice partitions, obviously you see them very similar-ish to the 109 in some ways, but also very different. They're all different and unique in their own way, these DMUs. Again, this has the original lighting, and it also has a larger style vents, which is quite rare, can only be found in carriages and certain classes of DMU. Thankfully we don't have those on our 117, as they're quite hard to get hold of, so I understand. So moving back, this is the first class now. So in here we have a nicely restored first class. As you'll see, big comfy chairs, door to partition things off, and it is lovely and warm in here, especially when the heaters are going. And you can just have a nice comfy ride listening to DMUs. It is lovely. Right guys, that wraps up this episode. We've had an excellent time as usual, even despite the certain conditions with the DMUs not being able to make traffic due to painting and other things, just keeping on top of that maintenance. They've backed it up with locos and hauled stock. It's been an absolutely fantastic event, even with the weather, making it atmospheric, and it's just been great.
Yeah, as usual, a fantastic Chipex on the Saturday night with the 104. Nice railway for having a few ales as well, which has kept me happy and a few of the boys as well.
So yeah, great look around that 105. Got a little bit of that extra special content of we didn't think we were going to get, of getting a kind of a walkthrough of how they set up each day. Shows you obviously around those that rare power car, the only one left. On top of that, taking you through Squeak's restoration, 8 years of hard graft. Originally was only going to be in for a 6 month job, and out she would go. But there she is, and she's having a proper job done to her. Really helpful for us, looking lovely. Bubbles obviously coming because it's been that long since she's come out of service. She's got to come in for a repaint now. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. There's loads of lovely sound shots. I will put them in after this outro. And yeah, enjoy the sound, enjoy it for all of you thrash lovers. There's 40, 24s, etc. Been a great weekend. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next very exciting video. We also found a recognisable face among the crowd who admirably enjoys 104 thrash just as much as we do.